Welcome to the AmeriCorps VISTA Concept Paper Close-Up course for the Office of Regional Operations staff. This presentation is part of a series on the VISTA Concept Paper review process. It was recorded in May 2020. In this session, we'll start with a brief review of the purpose of concept papers and then dive into the components that make up a concept paper. We'll go over the concept paper process and roles, and then describe the step-by-step process for reviewing concept papers. We'll finish up by sharing some helpful resources that will help you throughout the process. As you know, organizations submit an AmeriCorps VISTA concept paper as the first step in the application process. The concept paper is a preliminary screening tool which is used to evaluate whether the organization would be an appropriate sponsor. CNCS reviews concept papers to gain a better understanding of the proposed project and to determine if the activities and the organization are in alignment with VISTA's programming priorities. Using the concept paper as a screening tool prevents organizations with unsuitable project proposals from having to complete the full application. Once an organization decides to apply for VISTA resources, the applicant submits a concept paper in eGrants. Applicants should use a downloadable PDF available to them, which is called Concept Paper Instructions, when completing the concept paper. This PDF can be found on nationalservice.gov. The full link to that PDF is provided in the handout notes for this session, but you can also just go to nationalservice.gov, search concept paper, and it'll come right up. I believe it's the second result when you search for concept paper on nationalservice.gov. When completing the concept paper, organizations will first need to complete some general applicant information with details about their project. Some of this information will likely already be in the system from when the eGrants account was created, but they'll also need to complete some other fields, such as the areas affected by their project and whether the organization was a former VISTA sponsor or if they've previously received any other resources from CNCS programs. The next section of the concept paper asks the applicant to complete 3 narrative sections, or 4 for intermediaries. These narrative sections will allow the applicant to thoroughly explain their proposed project and the community and beneficiaries that it will benefit. The answers to the narratives are between 750 to 1,000 words or 3 to 4 pages single-spaced. In the needs section, they will explain the unmet poverty-related community needs that they propose to address with the project. It is helpful if they can include data and citations when available. Under strengthening communities, the applicant describes how their proposed project will complement or expand the current efforts taking place in the community to address the identified community need. In the organizational capability section, the applicant should detail their organization's capacity to manage a federal national service program and VISTA members. It's important to clearly articulate the proposed VISTA members' responsibilities in this organizational capability section. And lastly, organizations that are interested in becoming intermediaries will answer the intermediary justification question. As a reminder with that last bullet, organizations will submit their concept paper in eGrants. The request for concept paper process occurs in several cycles during the fiscal year. For the next and final cycle of fiscal year 2020, concept papers are due on June 1st. Beginning June 2nd, ORO staff will conduct a review of any concept papers in their region. You have until July 29th to notify applicants of your decision. If approved, you will invite the applicant to submit a full project application for the second step of the application process. The VISTA guidance and application instructions go along with that invitation, and they really structure the application process as a whole. Then at that point, the applicant must complete and submit the full application, and you will go on to review it. In order to complete the process in fiscal year 2020, you will need to award the project by September 9th. The RFCP timeline, and RFCP, another acronym, Request for Concept Papers. The RFCP timeline is a standalone document and is also included within the Request for Concept Paper notice. So let's take a look at the steps in the process. For step 1, so once the applicant submits the concept paper in eGrants, your office will receive an eGrants automated notification about the action. Your office will determine how to delegate the workload related to the review. Another way to see what concept papers are in submitted status in eGrants is by using the Portfolio Navigator. You can go to the Shared Reports folder, then Agency-Wide Module, then Award Management, and finally to the Award Processing tab. From there, you can use the filters to look for concept papers submitted and awaiting action. Within 2 weeks of the submission, you will send the concept paper receipt email to the applicant to acknowledge receipt and inform them of the review timeline. And next, you will review the concept paper and use the mandatory concept paper and application checklist by the review deadline. In some instances, you may need to ask the applicant for additional information before making a recommendation. Your options for the concept paper will be to either accept, to reject, or to put on hold pending resources. Concept paper approval or rejection is based on whether the proposed project meets the specific criteria in the narrative sections. The following criteria, which are included in that checklist, is used to determine whether a submitted concept paper is appropriate to receive AmeriCorps VISTA resources. So first would be if it addresses VISTA's anti-poverty mission. Second, if it aligns with VISTA programming priorities and/or locally identified needs. And third, if it engages members in appropriate capacity building service activities. After completing the checklist, you should also research the organization or applicant via internet search to really verify that they are a reputable organization that does not negatively impact the community or have any real financial or leadership issues. For step 3, you'll then upload the checklist onto the RFCP, again, Request for Concept Papers, onto the RFCP SharePoint site for electronic storage purposes. As you can see at the bottom of the RFCP SharePoint page, there's some blue text at the bottom that states, click here and a new tab will open to upload the concept paper and application checklist. So you'll click that, and then when uploading, you'll follow a specific naming convention for the file, which will be state abbreviation _date _CPCL _organization _ your initials. Once the decision has been confirmed, you'll need to update that in eGrants. And then once the decision is submitted in eGrants, the concept paper status will change. You'll send notification emails to applicants using the concept paper decision templates that are located in SharePoint. If the concept paper is approved, you will send the organization feedback and instructions for submitting a full project application. All of the key resources and process documents that we referenced in this session can be located on the VISTA SharePoint intranet page, VISTA OFL ORO Resources Request for Concept Papers. And as you can see from that red arrow where it's pointing, it's an icon with a red box on that intranet page. The process documents will include the timeline, the concept paper receipt notification, concept paper application checklist, the concept paper review spreadsheet, and decision letter templates for approved and rejected applicants. And we discussed the request for concept papers timeline, or the RFCP timeline, along with the outreach materials, since it will be shared with the public. It will, of course, also guide the process. And on this slide, what we saw on the previous slide with that red box icon on the OFL ORO resources page, once you click on that, it'll take you to the Request for Concept Papers intranet page, and you'll see this at the top. You'll see the timeline highlighted for you to show you those deadlines. Now, this timeline is also available via document, via PDF, but it's helpful to see right when you get there as well. And then when you go a little bit lower, below that timeline, you'll also see this document folder called Process Documents. And here we're highlighting the concept paper email receipt. This is what we mentioned from step 1 in the review process. And as a reminder, this particular template should be used to inform an applicant that the concept paper submission was received, and it tells applicants when they can expect to receive more communication from CNCS. You'll need to send this email within 2 weeks of receiving a concept paper submission. And then when reviewing concept papers and full applications, you will use the concept paper application checklist to ensure that all critical criteria are being reviewed. This template provides the narrative criteria and items to consider when reviewing a concept paper. Items should not be removed from this template, though you may add items if you wish. This checklist must be completed for all concept papers, including those that are either approved, rejected, or put on hold pending resources. And that segues to the decision letter templates, which include the approved, the rejected, and on hold pending resource letters. The approved concept paper template is used to inform an applicant that their concept paper was accepted and invites them to submit a full VISTA application. This template can be modified to add specific feedback or revisions that the applicant needs to address in the full application. Then the rejected concept paper template is used to inform an applicant that the concept paper was rejected and includes your feedback as to why. It includes links to CNCS and additional VISTA resources that could help the applicant if they choose to apply for resources in the future. And then lastly, the on hold pending resources template is used when you identify a potential sponsor that you would really like to provide resources to, but you may not have the resources or capacity to do so at this time. You can put the concept paper on hold and circle back to this organization when additional resources become available. As a quick review and summary, here are the objectives that we've covered today in this session. Thank you for completing the AmeriCorps VISTA concept paper close-up course.